I just found some really cool new jewels. We're going to talk about changes. We're going to talk about how the stock market is moving towards tokenization. I have some really cool new connections on this movie that I don't know I'm going to break down from the middle to the end. Stay with me. The ISDA will be the subject of our discussion. Today, we are going to talk about Robinhood. We are going to talk about how the inventory exchange is moving towards the place for tokenizing digital assets. There are a lot of only private links. Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, you'll like this. Let's start this way. It was announced by Ripple Labs that money transmitters will be able to get licenses in New York and Texas. So Blockchain Sends Bills to Ripple said that it had obtained a license to send money in Texas and New York, both in the United States. If you didn't know what a cash switch license is, you'll need one to change any amount of money in New York, besides if you wanted to start taking care of products. In New York City, you need a money switch license. So New York City is home to the International Swaps and Derivatives Association, which is also known as SOTA. Very important part of this. After that, I also wanted to understand how the New York Stock Exchange was working towards tokenization. Yes, it says the New York Stock Exchange, NYSE, is working hard to make tokens. It was in 2024 that the New York Stock Exchange's parent company, Intercontinental Exchange, ICE, bought a stake in Ciro, a platform for tokenized stocks. The New York Stock Exchange is becoming more interested in tokenization and virtual stocks, as shown by this move. Also, it says that the New York Stock Exchange has announced plans to start trading Bitcoin options subject to government approval. Also, they're working on some other projects with Goldman Sachs and a few other big players. When it happened again in August 2023, this made a lot of news. If you've been here, of course, there is a lot of talk, which is why FOMO was made. I just want you to know that Ripple was a part of the ISDA. However, I think there are many other great crypto companies, such as HBAR, Algorand, and maybe even more, that can also work with the ISDA. I just want to make that very clear. Plus, it's not just Ripple up here. What I found interesting is that if you go to the ISD website and look at Ripple Labs here, it has contacts on it. This contact person named Rahul Advani comes up. That's why I wanted to find out more about him. You can also see that China Stag Steengraber added this. So he was saying, that Ripple joined the ISDA. By becoming a member of the ISDA, Ripple and XRP are now on the same level as the biggest names in finance and have direct access to the 1.2 quadrillion futures market. And you know this right now. Simply put, you already know more about them and have more proof that Ripple was involved. This is a new ISD with 8 providers. Then he said, and who is Rahul Advani? He worked for ISDA for 12 years before joining Ripple. This man worked at the ISDA for 12 years before moving to Ripple. Rahul worked in financial services for 12 years before joining Ripple. He is now the head of public coverage for APAC on the ISDA. There's no doubt that the people that Ripple cops, yes, there are people from the DTCC, the US Treasury, the ISDA, and some high-level government agencies like the SEC and the CFTC. In fact, that's pretty cool. I also found this movie, which goes into a bit more detail about all of this. I think it has a lot of really cool clips, even though it is a longer movie, about 4 minutes. If you've already seen this movie, stay put, please. There's a lot of useful information here, so allow me to read it. Congratulations on joining ISDA, the International Swaps and Derivatives Association. ISDA is made up of over 1,000 companies, such as BlackRock, Societe Generale, JP Morgan, and BNY Mellon, to name a few. How big is it, and what should you see from it? Check it out. Derivative market, more than $1 quadrillion. Read this now. Check first that Ripple and SDA can connect to each other, thanks to Cypress Demonic Core. Check it out. Quickly look this over. We're going to go to Rahul Advani and present some groundbreaking facts. It was only yesterday. This man is the policy head at Ripple. In case you don't know who he is, you could see what he said just yesterday on his LinkedIn page. Thank you again to the CypherX study team. When the past and the present come together, it's always fine. I'm his covering job at That sounds like it could be really exciting, doesn't it? That being said, what does it all mean when we say that Ripple, the ability for XRP, the Ledger, and the Dexter work together to settle and clean up all of these derivatives? Take a look. The question, and Brad, this is a real question. Using the payments gadget to spread cash is one of your goods. So the question is, should people rush to buy Ripple? To put it another way, everyone wants your cash. As things stand, no one wants to sell it because people have doubts about the gadget, whether they are good or bad. There may already be two world reserves or currencies in use at the same time. Sure, I believe that would show up. I guess it makes sense that many countries have now used the dollar as their main currency for trading, since every country would want its own currency to be the main currency used in trade. That's good for the US. You know that it has really helped the US by using jumps and boundaries for decades. And every single US government said, yeah, we want to have the arena to be the world's reserve forex. But the EU, Russia, and maybe one or more other countries are the only ones that could pull it off as the US keeping its role. But in reality, most places around the world know that a country's currency is the best choice for a new world reserve currency. They won't be. So it stands to reason that they would choose a currency that no one can control over one that is controlled by their biggest global rivals. That then is what I think is the most likely way for digital goods to be achieved. When other countries say, okay, well, the US dollar can't hold on all the time, it means that the US dollar won't be our foreign exchange because no one will need to repeat it. No one but the EU wants the EU to take the place of the dollar, right? Russia, on the other hand, wants the ruble to replace the dollar. China, on the other hand, wants the yuan to replace the dollar. Instead of having their most powerful geopolitical foes run the forex, they might choose a market that no one should be able to control. Guys, I just want to quickly touch base on this because David Schwartz just talked about China and Russia. If you were paying attention, it is clear that Russia's economy has broken down, is now fallen apart. All over Russia, businesses are going out of business. People are having trouble paying back their bills. It costs 21% to interest in Russia. This is called the base hobby charge. In other words, if you bought a house or had to borrow cash or did anything else in your business, you're talking about 25 to 30% hobby. And if you've ever had a high interest hobby credit card, you know how crazy the hobby stage is. Can you believe the interest on 400,000, 500,000, or 100,000? That's how much people in Russia are paying right now. I don't think the ruble will be able to beat the US dollar anytime soon, but I don't think China will put the US dollar under a lot of pressure because their real estate market is also having a really bad time right now.